AI, the topic people either love to talk about or they hate to talk about it. And I've really been looking forward to doing this video, I have to tell you, because I've really been wanting to get the message out there to leaders, executive leadership, non-IT leaders, of what AI is and what it isn't. Because you may think you understand it, but it's because of the way it's been explained to you so far. So your IT leadership has told you, if we don't invest millions of dollars in AI, we're going to get left behind. The company's going to get left behind. Executives think that AI is going to give them the edge. That assumption is wrong. And I'll explain why. And I'll explain, and I will break it down in non-IT language. I will explain what AI is, and more importantly, what it is not. And I'll also give you 3 questions to ask before you fund any AI spend. And to be honest, you can use it for any spend whatsoever. And most leadership, they skip the questions. But this is why AI budgets grow and the confidence has just been shrinking like crazy. So stay with me on this. So AI fails for many reasons, but one of the reasons is the lack of understanding. Because most leaders approving the technology never lived the technology. They never fixed systems at 2 a.m. They never built infrastructure from the ground up. They never owned the cost when it broke. I started on help desk, fixing desktops and printers. I built data centers. I ran global infrastructures. And later I sat in the executive suite owning 9-figure technology budgets. That arc is why I see AI decisions very differently. Because AI, it doesn't fail really in theory. It fails when the technical reality collides with the financial accountability. And that collision is exactly what boards are struggling to govern right now, and what you're struggling to govern with right now. Hi, I'm Jayson Hahn. I've spent 30 years in IT, 18 years as a global CIO. And I didn't survive that long by chasing trends. I survived by putting the right solutions in the right place that move the business. And more importantly, by shutting down initiatives that sounded strategic, but they were not. Now, again, this video is not about learning the technical nuances of AI. There are plenty of videos that attempt to do that. This video exists, and I made this video for senior business leaders trying to reconcile the 2 competing stories. One story comes from the CIO asking for budget. The other comes from technology companies targeting executives directly through commercials, keynotes, and primetime sporting events. Those stories, and they're not aligned. And leadership, you're left in the middle. And you're expected to decide whether the spend is worth it or not. And that gap is why confusion around AI keeps growing more and more every single day. And in the next few minutes, I'll show you why the AI narrative breaks down under scrutiny, and why boards and people like yourself are already skeptical, and why you should be. I'm also going to give you the exact decision filter. Leaders should apply this filter before approving another dollar. But let's ground this properly. And I really want you to keep this statement in the forefront of your mind while listening to this discussion on AI, and when you're having discussions outside of this with people about AI. So when I talk with people about it, and I bring this up, and I say, well, it's nothing more than automation, right? And they go, well, true. But, that's true for now. But the hope is for the future. This is what we think it's going to be able to do in the future. In the future. Okay? I hope my hair grows back in the future. But I'm not going to spend millions of dollars waiting for that. Because hope is not a strategy. Never has been, never will be. So, none of these tools meet the definition of imitating intelligent human behavior, right? They simulate fragments of it, language, task execution, pattern recognition, but they don't reason like leaders. They don't influence people, and they don't adapt under pressure. Yet companies are approving AI spend as if these systems replace judgment. And that's not innovation, that's category confusion. And boards and yourselves are feeling this. You may not understand the technical language, but you're sensing the disconnect now. So, with that, there's a lot of hype and a lot of marketing confusion, right? So, before approving any other AI initiatives, I really want you to pause and think, okay, I know now that none of it is actually AI, which will lead you to start asking more probing questions. Because the industry, again, did not invent these tools yesterday. 2+ years ago, when the tech companies very successfully marketed and coined the term AI, the tools on the whole are not doing anything more than tools that were doing it years ago. All that changed was the packaging. Existing capabilities were rebranded as AI, wrapped in urgency, sold as inevitability. And I want to give you a couple of examples of this. So I was chief of infrastructure for a public transportation company, and we used a monitoring solution for the entire infrastructure, for the network, the applications. It monitored everything. So when this whole new AI thing came into play a little over 2 years ago, the rep for the company calls me up and says, "Jayson, we want to show you our new AI capabilities." I said, okay. So they come in, a whole group of them, they sit down, they bring up their presentation. I had with me the gentleman who ran the monitoring solution for the company. So they gave the presentation, went through their whole dog and pony show. And when it was done, I said to them, okay, great, when is this going to be available? And they said, oh, you already have it. So I turned to the person who runs all of this. I go, was there a major update to the platform that I didn't know about? He goes, no. He goes, nothing's changed, just little updates here and there, but nothing major. And I said, well, if there's nothing major that got updated, how is it that we now have your AI capabilities? Well, we wanted to show you how we already had them. We've had them all along. I said, well, what did you show me that now is AI that wasn't AI prior? I'm not understanding this. And they start showing me all these reports and aggregating data and everything that it shows me. They were showing me reports that I've been seeing every month for years. Nothing changed. They just slapped the word AI on it. Saw this again during the Summer Olympics. Google ran a commercial for Gemini, their AI platform, and it was a father and child using AI to write a letter to a child's favorite athlete. Now, that ad probably cost millions, but it demonstrated no value. Okay? Is writing a letter something that's going to save your business? Is that going to move the needle forward for the business? No. It's going to help people who maybe have not been able to write well throughout their career. And we've all seen that, right? The person who we were getting emails from for the past 5 years that we didn't understand when we got them, and suddenly they sound like Hemingway, which is fine, but is that going to help the business? But while that ad was running, CIOs were asking leadership for expanded AI budgets, different incentives, different narratives, same executive audience. That tension is why clarity is missing. And this is why the data matters. In addition to these briefings, I also have my newsletter. It's the IT ROI and Governance Brief, where I break down monthly global IT spend and trends using the most current data. And here's something very, very interesting you need to understand. For 2025, more than $5 trillion globally, that's trillion with a T, was associated with incentives labeled AI. $5 trillion. Now here's the kicker. Over 90% failed outright or never reached sustained production. So 90% of the $5 trillion that was spent was useless. And of course, it's not because the technology was malicious, but it's because the decisions were undisciplined. The same goes with this whole hype on job losses because of AI. All these CEOs and everybody saying, if you implement our AI solutions, you can reduce your headcount. They're going to replace people. And all the costs that go along with that. Now, back in July of 2025, I wrote an entire article about this and how job losses that are being blamed on AI is not true. Absolutely not true. And that article invoked a lot of comments from people saying, just wait until the actual data comes out. Well, last week, the data came out. And the data shows roughly 55,000 roles were eliminated. And it was attributed to AI. And then it goes on. Those jobs were not lost to intelligence as these companies said they were. Because when you look at the data, the majority of those 55,000 jobs were done by the major tech companies, Microsoft, IBM, Salesforce, AWS. These people didn't lose their jobs because AI replaced them. They lost their jobs because of the cost of AI, but more importantly, and this is what the report shows, they were lost because these companies overhired, especially during COVID, slowing demand and declining revenue. But AI became the explanation for them, not the cause. But it was a wonderful narrative for them. Because here they can go out and say, we were able to eliminate jobs because of AI, and you can too. And oh, by the way, we have the AI solutions that can help you do this, when it was not the cause in the first place. So here's the decision filter I was talking about. And this filter alone can save hundreds of thousands of dollars on different IT spends. And especially before, use this filter before funding anything new, not just AI. But I always ask these two questions. First and foremost, what specific business problem does this solve? Not capability, not potential. A real problem with a cost attached to it. Second, can we solve it with the tools we already own? Most organizations already pay for overlapping capability. And AI often sits now on the top of that unused value pile. If a proposal cannot survive those two questions, it should not move forward. And this is not an anti-innovation. I am all for innovation. I love innovation. But this is a fiduciary discipline. So now let me give you an example of what to do and give you not just questions that you should be asking, but expected answers as well. Because as executives, you don't understand the technology. It's not your job to understand the technology. It's the job of your IT leadership, your CIO, your CTO, to explain the technology, but match it to business terms, match it to dollars. Okay? So let me give you an example. And I've asked these questions and been through this many times in my career. So a CIO comes up and asks for $5 million in AI spend to automate mundane tasks. You ask this, was this a problem 5 years ago? More than likely, CIO is going to say, yes, it was. You ask the next question, was there a solution for it 5 years ago? CIO will probably say yes. Then you ask the big question. If it was such a problem 5 years ago, why wasn't it solved then with the tools that we already had? And why now do we need to spend $5 million on AI to solve it? That question doesn't kill AI. It kills undisciplined thinking. And this confusion is why I wrote a book. Last July, I published a book called AI Clarity, a straightforward guide for business leaders, available on Amazon. And it's not for technologists. It's not for vendors. It's for executives who must decide without narrative pressure, because clarity is the only antidote to inevitability. And in this book, I go into a bit more detail about the three different areas of AI that everybody's talking about, the LLMs, the AI agents, the agentic AIs. But I give concrete reasoning and concrete examples of what they actually do. But more importantly in the book, there's a whole series of questions and expected answers for all three of them. So they're questions that you as leaders should be asking your IT leadership, and the type of answers they should be giving back to you. And I think you'll find it very interesting and very eye-opening. You see, AI is not the biggest risk. Unknown decisions are. When technology leads strategy, accountability just disappears. And when strategy leads technology, leverage returns. You never want to let tech wag the strategy. Boards are not anti-AI. Leadership is not anti-AI. They're anti-ambiguity. Define the business need first. Then decide whether AI is the right tool, or is it just the loudest one in the room right now? Most failures blamed on AI were nothing more than failures of judgment. So, this video is the first in my part of what I'm calling the Future Ready Leadership series, where I want to do more videos where I discuss technology and technology trends, but put it in language and terms that non-IT leadership will understand and can sit back and go, oh, now I get it. Now I understand the ask of me and can ask better questions. My goal is to really help educate you so you can ask better questions of your IT staff. And in the next briefing, I'm going to be covering disaster recovery, because most organizations are not nearly as protected as they believe. And I think you're going to find that one very, very interesting and very eye-opening as well. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching.